My name is Max, and I'm 20, but not really because I'm 5.
My name is Johnny, and I'm 31.
This is my little corner, and this is where I keep most of my stuffies and some other stuff. And this is my passy box, and this has all of my pacifiers and stuff in it. And I have a lot of them.
Yep, this is a real thing. That is a full-grown adult pretending to be a 5-year-old, mixed in with the staff at Truly trying to tell us that this is not unhealthy by calling it extreme love or love don't judge. Newsflash, everyone makes judgments. Assuming people would be judgmental of the relationship that you're displaying is a judgment, so even the morality police trying to shame you into not being judgmental can't refrain from being judgmental. Not that it really matters, because all of that shaming is just to trick you into ignoring the fact that engaging in behavior like what Max and Johnny are doing is not good for them and is actually being acted out as a way of avoiding their real-life problems. For example,
in the words of Peter Pan, I never want to grow up.
Any responsible adult would freak out if they heard their kids saying this at 20, because people who work, pay bills, and make enough to survive without living off their boyfriend know that her mentality about not wanting to be an adult and take on responsibility is going to lead her to a very miserable life. Then imagine being a kid raised by this person. And yes, some kids have parents who are like this, but maybe I'm all wrong about this. Let's have Max explain it in her adult voice.
DDLG, by definition, is Daddy Dom Little Girl, and it is a subsection of BDSM, which is a part of kink. I was just discovering things about the community, learning a bit more about it. I decided to try it out, and I've just loved it ever since. It's just me.
See? I explained it calmly, and that means it's not unhealthy. It's an alternative lifestyle choice. We are just different. No. There's a reason why people look weird at a 20-year-old who owns a full box of pacifiers and does stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah? Can you go part?
Yes, because you're off, and I have a daddy baby day.
Daddy baby day. Let's get jacket on.
Also, I want to take Moana.
Okay.
Moana. Going to the park.
I understand that she's still young, so she can get away with this stuff. You can drink, party, and waste time in your 20s engaging in addictive behaviors or highly stimulating behaviors without it being the end of the world. But there's something to be said about learning how to be socially desirable at a young age and refraining from behavior that most people would look at and say, that girl needs therapy, because doing so will give you a huge advantage. A big problem with society today is that people are learning important skills at 25 that they should have learned at 15. What's going to happen if Max doesn't take care of her mental health is eventually she's going to be 35, life is going to smack her right in the face, and she's going to be a victim to whatever happens to her because she spent the last 15 years avoiding growing up. Now, I try to be empathetic, and I will say that if someone is acting like this as an adult, then they went through some stuff as a child. There's a reason why Max found DDLG desirable after seeing some videos on the internet. Over the years, I've listened to thousands of stories of people in pathological relationships. A lot of the time when you have a victim of severe abuse or tragedy, their development will arrest at a certain age. So if something bad happened at 5, then you might get an adult with the voice of a 5-year-old. There's a reason why Max chooses to roleplay at that age, and if she were to go to therapy, that is the time period that she needs to discuss. Whatever happened to her, I'm sorry that she had to go through that. That being said, where I get a lot less empathetic is when media companies take these well-known signs that someone is acting out trauma instead of getting treatment and pretend that this is a normal, healthy behavior as a way of suggesting that more people should become like this.
My daddy and I are very much in love, and this is something that we do to strengthen that bond.
This is what I mean. They're talking about how great the lifestyle is and how it empowers them without truly providing the psychological context that led to her desire for that kind of relationship. That is encouraging the behavior.
There are a lot of people in the community that do this sexually, and I am not one of those people. This is a completely non-sexual lifestyle for me.
I know a lot of people look down on more hardcore versions of the DDLG subset, but for a lot of people, it's non-sexual. And like for us, it's non-sexual.
Well, it's certainly creepy that people do that. Also, I don't believe you. I understand that you have to say that it's non-sexual for the camera, but I'm pretty sure that the vast majority of people would have trouble being intimate with a person who spends half the day pretending to be their daughter. There's a reason why this guy goes along with this role play.
I'm little when it's right to be, but of course it's not something that like I can't control. Like if we're out in public, you know, I don't just randomly like shout daddy because that's involving other people in something that they didn't consent to.
Okay, stop, I'm sick. Odysee, daddy!
I bet some disgruntled editor cut her contradicting herself by saying daddy as she role plays in a public park with kids in the background, right after she said she doesn't do that. I honestly don't see how she could avoid doing this around children or other people who didn't consent to it if she's behaving like this in public. I don't believe she can fully control this behavior, or certainly in the future she won't be able to, because fetishes and strange behaviors like this are addictive and they progress over time and get more intense as the person seeks things that are more novel. When someone is a new alcoholic and doesn't want other people to know, they will hide their alcohol stash like they're storing it in Fort Knox, and they will never let people see how frequently they drink. As the years go on, that level of secrecy becomes inconvenient, they get less careful, and eventually they are just under the influence all the time, surrounded by beer bottles. Even if Max doesn't do this now, if she doesn't get treatment, her role play will eventually progress to the point where she is not so careful to not impose on other people who didn't volunteer to be around it.
I am an adult, I'm 20 years old. I pay my bills, I do my taxes. It's never interfered, and I don't think that it will.
Yeah, you're in your 20s and probably working unskilled labor. Come back and talk to me when you're ready for a real job and see how much not taking care of your mental health hurts you socially. It absolutely affects you because it is limiting the number of people who are willing to socially connect with you. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do this role play. America is a free country, sort of, and if they really want to behave like this, that's fine, as long as they aren't causing harm to other people. But understand that role playing the avoidance of responsibility by saying things like, I never want to grow up, is going to make high-quality people not want to be around you, and that will cause you to miss a ton of opportunity. Being socially desirable is important. Caring about what other people think about you is important. Look at the millennial generation. This doctrine of do whatever you want and don't care what people think was promoted during the childhoods of that generation, and now you have a bunch of people in their late 20s and early 30s who act like adult teenagers and can't get jobs because they wasted tons of vital years doing nonsense instead of focusing on things that will make people like them, which makes it very hard to network. Tons of people have no idea how nice it is to have good friends who actually have the ability to help you when you need it. Those kinds of people don't want to be around people who behave like children or adolescents.
I will always have that childlike sense of wonder about me. And whether or not in 20 years I still call myself a little, I know that I'm gonna have that inside me because I don't want to grow up.
Again, you're 20. You have no idea what you're going to be like when you're 40. Hopefully you become much different. This kind of like pseudo starry-eyed mentality and not taking reality for what it is a sign that you aren't really developmentally where you should be at 20. This is what I would expect from a 13-year-old. There are so many red flags here, including the fact that her boyfriend is 11 years older than her. Spoilers, relationships with a 10-plus year age gap don't really have a great track record when it comes to healthy behavior. This guy has over a decade of experience as an adult, while she is just barely out of high school. Of course, as you get older, age difference matters less, but these two are in a completely different place in life, and that is not good for creating a space where you can communicate on the same level and grow together. Anyway, the story continues as Truly promotes another couple as alternative. This is Dani, who engages in puppy play.
Hey, come on in. Come here. How was your walk? You want a treat? Yeah? You want a treat? Okay, I'll get you a treat.
My name's Dani, and I'm a puppy girl just looking for head pats.
My name is Jack, and I'm Dani's owner. You want something sweet? Good girl. Good girl.
So this is Dani, who likes to play as a dog. Again, it's alternative and totally not mentally unhealthy. This is a part of a series called Love, Don't Judge, which is an ironic title because in my experience, the people who constantly say don't judge are some of the most judgmental and intolerant people. If you've watched some of my other videos, then you'll know that during the Love, Don't Judge segment, Truly baits and pushes the people being interviewed to talk about how oppressed they are when they read comments that literally every creator gets. even when the creators being interviewed aren't actually bothered by what's being said, or even when what's being said is not really a hate comment. Let's see the oppression that Dani faces.
While Jack was happy to get on board the puppy play boat, many onlookers had other opinions about their unusual relationship dynamic.
We do get a lot of negative comments online. Jesus Christ, you need therapy.
Yeah, I would say that she needs therapy judging by her actions. Full transparency though, there is a comment towards her about a dog pound that I cut out, but it was obviously a joke and I don't think she was that offended by it because she laughed at it. Also, welcome to content creation. Probably a good most of content creators need therapy. Addictive personalities are a part of what makes people successful in a super competitive environment, so it should be no shock that a large number of successful creators are addicts. Personally, for me, it's why I rarely drink and I don't do any recreational substances. I make sure that proclivity in me is focused on something productive and not something that's pathological. So again, that statement that person made can be applied to most people who enter the public space. Same thing with negative comments. Every single creator big enough to have a comment section gets negative comments. I don't see why Truly needs to frame it as some special case when that comment is made towards Dani. With that said, let's go over why I think Dani needs therapy.
I've had chronic anxiety and panic attacks since I was a kid. Puppy play is this really great coping skill. When I've had a really stressful day, I can come home and just kind of lose myself in that puppy space and he'll take care of me.
Chronic anxiety seems like a good reason to go to therapy. Panic attacks also seem like a good reason to go to therapy. To add to that, obviously I can't show this next thing and it's not said in the Truly video, but Dani is a sex worker with an OF account, and I have never heard of someone choosing that field who was not a trauma survivor. Yet another reason to get treatments. Then she says that she's using puppy play as a coping mechanism. Well, you know, a lot of people think that drinking is a really good coping mechanism for anxiety or having a stressful day, and I'm making the comparison to addiction for a reason. Addiction is a continued, uncontrollable behavior that is leading to negative consequences. One, you know she can't control it because she's using it as a coping mechanism and a way of regulating emotion. Using a drug of choice or a problematic behavior to regulate emotion is a key identifier of addiction. Also, like with Max, it will eventually progress to more extreme behavior. Two, it's going to have social consequences for her because people are going to see this behavior and not want to be around her. The reason for that is because she's acting like someone's dog. Dogs are children with no responsibility and cannot take care of themselves. An adult acting out this role and saying they don't want to shoulder responsibility makes them undesirable. Third, it's putting strain on her relationship with her boyfriend. We'll get to that. This is what I mean when I say this behavior is an addiction. You can also see that she's not taking care of her physical health. She was much healthier looking in the older photo of her. But more importantly, there are healthier ways to treat anxiety. The reason you get therapy is so things like anxiety don't constantly cause you to suffer, and so you don't develop a pathological behavior to cope with your anxiety, which is what will happen when you don't have guidance. Also, here's where the relationship is being strained.
When I first told Jack that I was into puppy play, it was really small and innocuous. I just said, hey, you should call me Puppy as like a pet name. And once he was fine with that, I kind of just spilled it like, okay, cool, I'm actually into puppy play. I like acting like a puppy. You should buy me a bowl.
Again, wanting to be referred to as a puppy, which is a child, just like Max wanted to be referred to as a 5-year-old. So it's similar behavior. But the fact that she had to hide it is a problem in itself. Now, I'm not saying that this is first date material, but this is something that she should have been upfront about very close to the start of the relationship. Her trying to ease him into it is dishonest behavior. It's like saying, once I've hooked you to the point where you'll feel guilty for leaving, I'm going to lay my personality disorder on you.
Yeah, it was pretty like spontaneous kind of.
Yeah, no. This was not spontaneous. She hid this from you and likely profusely planned out every step for when she would tell you. She didn't just magically come up with it one day. This was on her mind from day one.
I've never dated anyone that's been into puppy play before. She's definitely the first.
Yeah, because she tricked you into it. I bet if she was more upfront about it at the start of the relationship, you would have said no to it. And it seems to be that way from my perspective because when you look at their interactions, he doesn't appear to be all that into it. It's more like he's being used.
Right, sit. Good girl. Stay. Okay, get it.
You would think she would have like practiced that trick before going on camera. But can you hear how his voice is flat and he's not really engaged? Even though he says he likes it at the end of the video, I don't believe him. His affect and his facial expressions are all wrong. He looks like he is constantly putting on a forced smile. This is different from Johnny, the guy from the other video. He is clearly into that kink. But I've seen a lot of people interact with actual dogs, and this is certainly the most unenthusiastic interaction I've seen from a pet owner getting their animal to do a trick. Probably because in his mind he is thinking, hey, can you stop pretending to be a dog for like 5 seconds so we can have an adult conversation? Also, who wants to be in this sort of relationship where it appears to be very one-sided? He's playing along with the dog thing and doing something that he seems like he doesn't want to do, so let me ask, what does she do in return for the inconvenience? Ultimately, the reason people develop these proclivities relates back to family history. The people involved have had a bunch of pathological relationships from their family of origin. Therefore, being in a relationship is scary, so they find ways to put up barriers to avoid real intimacy. It's them saying, I'm going to act like a dog or a 5-year-old girl because real relationships are scary to me, and this is my way of avoiding them. I'm not your girlfriend, I'm your daughter. Or, I'm not your girlfriend, I'm your dog. There are all kinds of ways people avoid intimacy when they've experienced bad childhoods. This is just a more extreme example. Like I said, do what you want, but what I don't like is them bringing this stuff into public spaces where kids can be involved.
I mean, I love him so much. He's my owner. He takes really good care of me and just makes my little puppy heart happy. I know that it looks weird from the outside, but I feel like there's a lot more to it. What we do works for us.
This is what I don't like. I don't like the suggestion that this is just an alternative behavior, along with ignoring this series of mental health issues that come along with acting like this. There's a reason it looks weird. It's a sign of poor mental health. What you should really be asking is, why don't you want to be who you actually are? Why doesn't Max want to behave like an adult? Why doesn't Dani want to behave like a human? These are the important mental health questions that need to be asked.
We've gotten a lot of negative comments online. Things like, you're an abomination to God, you need Jesus, this is bestiality, this is disgusting, you need a therapist, you need help. I make it a point not to respond to any of those negative comments just because I know it's not worth it.
Hands down, this is the most mentally healthy thing that Dani has said. I mean, if Dani, a person who has actual anxiety issues, can ignore negative comments, then I don't see why people like Taylor Lorenz have to go cry in a corner for a week because someone said they didn't like an article she wrote. The bottom line, though, is that this is not just some quirky alternative lifestyle. It's people who have been victims to likely some pretty bad stuff, and they are acting out these characters as a way of not dealing with their issues. And what the promotion of these kinds of behaviors of denial from many different movements, like, say, the fat acceptance movement, has done is it's pretty significantly reduced the number of partners who are desirable. Again, just to make this clear, Truly is actively promoting this stuff along with many other unhealthy relationships.
Can this puppy-loving pair convince the world that what might seem weird to others is perfect for them?
So what will happen is that people watching this stuff who are socially on the edge and don't know that these behaviors stem from psychological trauma and mental health issues is that they will lean into their weird behaviors and call themselves quirky instead of fixing their problems. Remember that Max got the idea for her DDLG relationship and the idea to behave like a 5-year-old from watching YouTube videos. So then they go through life saying, why don't I have any friends? Why can't I get a job? Why do things not go my way in life? This is why. People are constantly being pushed into being less desirable by big media companies and activists. Do you want to know why there are less and less good relationship partners out there? How about we look at the overweight and obesity statistics, which describes around 70% of America. Both men and women don't want overweight partners. Oh wait, I can't say that because it's been deemed hate speech. Then add on the fact that tons of people can't get good jobs because they were lied to about the efficacy of college, which in reality just ended up wasting 4 to 6 important years of their lives. Being completely broke in your mid-20s and in tons of debt is not sexy. Then you have the massive promotion of sexual promiscuity by mainstream media, feminism, and the red pill, which is another behavior that both men and women find undesirable. Where have all the good men gone? Where have all the good women gone? This is where they went. They got convinced to take on pathological behaviors instead of self-improving. We've had decades of mainstream movements promoting behaviors that people find unattractive, and it's preventing us from getting along. Honestly, maybe that's the point. Because I've noticed that people who have no friends or good people around them are quite susceptible to tribalism. All it takes to screw people over for many years is a company like Truly saying, lean into your weirdness, you're just quirky. No, fix your mental health problems. Go to the gym, eat healthy, take care of your appearance, learn how to detect social cues, learn how to maintain good social boundaries, start caring about people's needs and start helping them. When you get all this stuff right, people will magically start to like you. Like I said, this is bad on both ends of the spectrum. You have feminism saying, how dare you like a woman because she is beautiful and feminine? That's sexist. Then from the red pill side, you see guys saying, women are so shallow, they never talked to me until I got muscles and started making more money. How dare they like things that are attractive? No, do what works. If you improved yourself and people responded well to that, then great. Stop getting resentful because people want to be around you. That's a great way to end up alone and miserable. I feel like I have to say it again because this appears to be people's number one sticking point. Do what works. If something's not getting you what you want, stop doing it. The people who are successful are able to quickly throw out things that don't benefit them and replace them with things that do. But in order to do that, you need to let go of your ego, let go of your hurt feelings, and critically assess if what you're doing is actually leading you in the right direction. You will be shocked at how fast your life will improve when you start doing that. Anyway, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.